Hey, what's up, guys? And welcome to today's Chet Chat. Today is going to be something a little bit different. It's going to be an idea that I had. And for those of you who know me, I do tend to be more of the libertarian viewpoint on things, small government, things being done at the state and local level. With that in mind, I have always had a dislike for the federal Department of Education simply because I don't believe that the federal government should be in the business of educating people. Our Constitution lays out a federal government of very specifically enumerated powers, very limited powers, and everything not specifically enumerated in the Constitution is supposed to be left to the states. And I believe that the creation of the Department of Education on a federal level goes beyond the authority granted to the federal government by the Constitution. With that being said, our current Department of Education exists. All right. And it has an annual budget, and this was in 2016, of $68 billion. Okay. Now, I'm throwing this out to anybody watching who's a school teacher or an administrator. And I absolutely want the comments because I want to know. I definitely don't pretend to know everything. I want to know, if you're a school teacher or an administrator, what has the Federal Department of Education done to help students, to help schools? How do you feel the Federal Department of Education on a daily basis? I'd be interested to know. And from the few people I've talked to, it doesn't seem like they do much. The Department of Education are the ones credited with coming up with Common Core. So I'll just leave that there. Now, here's my idea, okay? We have this money allocated to the Department of Education, $68 billion a year. U.S. taxpayers are already paying that, right? Abolish them. Get rid of them, okay? Take 25% of that budget, that federal budget, and simply allocate it to a grant to be given to local schools, okay? Directly to local, state and local schools. 25% of the total budget, and that would come out to about $17 billion. Now, how many school children attend public schools in this country? It's right at 50 million, okay? So there's 50 million public students that go to public school in the U.S. So if we divide 17 billion by 50 million, then that gives us somewhere around, I think the number is about $350 per student. And the number that I came up with in preparation for this, you get about $6,800 for every 20 students per year. Okay, so let me explain this to you. If you are a teacher and you have a classroom of 20 students, the amount of money that would come to you in the form of a grant, specifically to your classroom, would be $6,800 per year. Once again, this is not a one-time thing. This would be every single year. Your classroom will get $6,800, or the school would get $6,800 for your classroom. So, the school would get a lot more money when you consider all the classes in the aggregate. But then you could do things like, hire more teachers. So class size could decrease. The bottom line is the school could do what they needed with it, because every school has its own challenges and every school has its specific needs. So you're not just having somebody in Washington deciding what everybody needs. In some schools, there's a dire need for more teachers because of overcrowding. In some schools, there's a need for technology. You could go out and buy Google Chromebooks. And with that kind of, people say, oh, well, it's, you wouldn't be able to get very much for that amount. Well, I disagree, because if you have that type of purchasing power where you're buying in bulk, you could go to the manufacturers of these things and say, hey, we're gonna buy a lot of these. We want a discount. Also, you have to think you're amortizing these costs over the lifespan of the laptop or the Chromebook or whatever. So even if the device costs $300 or $400 more than you get per student per year, these things have a useful life of more than 1 year. So even if you have to replace them every 3 to 5 years, you'd keep this money in an account, and then it would accumulate, and then you would just pay for them when you need to replace them, if that's what that particular school needs. Maybe the school needs more specials teachers. Maybe they've had to cut art or PE or something like that, and that school just needs to bring those programs back. They'd be able to do that. So just an idea. I could be missing something, and so I welcome any comments from teachers or administrators who think that the Federal Department of Education is absolutely critical to educating our youth in this country. I would be open to hear those reasons. Please state reasons, not just conclusions and criticisms of me or my hairstyle or general personality. But please support your conclusion with a logical argument if possible. Thank you so much.